Everybody knows that Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, but he didn't free the slaves by himself. During the first couple of years of the Civil War, long before January 1st, 1863, tens of thousands of enslaved black families liberated themselves by running away from their masters. The Northern press even developed a special name for these wartime runaways. Contrabands, they called them. That was slang for contraband of war, like stolen property. It was a phrase that tried to turn the warped logic of rebellious slaveholders against themselves. The Lincoln administration began recognizing contrabands and their rights as early as May 1861, and Congress authorized Union confiscation policies to protect them in 1861 and 1862. That was all before September 1862, when President Lincoln announced his plans for general emancipation starting in 1863. How these various laws, policies, and proclamations were supposed to get applied, and who got covered by them, was confusing, however. But enslaved families knew enough to test their meaning by running to Union lines in overwhelming numbers. Over time, their decisive actions helped push Union officials toward an ever firmer embrace of freedom. One of the best examples of how escaping slaves could reshape wartime policy occurred near Luder Island, Missouri, in November 1862. Newspapers reported that a stampede of slaves had fled from several farms on the low-lying island across the Gasconade Bridge. The freedom seekers went straight toward Union pickets guarding the small town of Herman. The town was situated on the Missouri River, west from St. Louis. By 1862, Missouri was mostly under Union control, but there were still pockets of Confederate resistance and guerrilla activity, and also plenty of slaveholders, both loyal and disloyal. The escaping black families were brought to Captain Balthazar Mundwiller of the 4th Missouri Infantry, who then sent the refugees out into Gasconade County, promising that nobody would interfere with them. Soon, however, a group of slaveholders from Luder Island came over the bridge and managed to find a local official who was willing to arrest some of the runaways. The shocking news passed through the area like wildfire, according to later reports. Many of the local residents were German immigrants who were passionately opposed to slavery. Soon there was an abolitionist mob led by these immigrants gathered outside the courthouse and demanding the release of the African Americans. What followed next was pretty amazing. After a flurry of telegraph messages establishing that the Luder Island slaveholders were Confederate sympathizers and did not deserve to keep their contrabands, Union Army officials intervened and ordered the release of the black freedom seekers. Such wartime actions sent an incredibly important message. Missouri was a loyal slave state, not subject to the impending Emancipation Proclamation, but because of the actions of African American families, Union soldiers, and anti-slavery white allies, it was becoming a state fast heading toward freedom. That's exactly what President Lincoln told U.S. senators in the White House in January 1863. He assured them, perhaps with reports about Luder Island fresh in his mind, that since the announcement of his proclamation, Negroes were stampeding in Missouri. He thought their efforts could help lead to the abolition of slavery in Missouri. And they did. 2 years later, in early 1865, the state formally abolished slavery. It was a fitting tribute for a whole host of great emancipators, not just for President Lincoln, but for a series of American families and individuals who had risked everything for their freedom.